take away the economy from those who rigged it. As I see it, class warfare, the only resort to right-wing doom. It's worth it. How to talk to your right-wing relatives, friends, and neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willis. Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willis, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to the United States of America. Good morning to the entire world receiving our signals via the magic of El Internet, formerly known as ARPANET. Created by whom? Created by we the people. Once again, created by we the people, now controlled by the billionaires, something that we must mitigate, folks. We have to take back our country. Our country wasn't just taken by the leaders of MAGA. Our countries have been taken from the corporate talk by the corporatocracy for a long time now. Slowly, slowly, slowly. And what we've got to do is take it back. Anyway, folks, without further ado, we have one person populating all the machinations and magic of the studio. So let's give him grace. El Senor Jacques Van Beba. How you doing, sir?
Good morning, Egberto. How are you?
I am doing fine. I know that you're the one making all the magic happen this morning.
Well, no, Howard's the one that makes the magic happen. He was out at the transmitter 12 hours yesterday, and is going to
Oh,
put in another hard day today, working things out. So I'm covering him. I'm his helper. I'm his
well,
guy.
look here. We all know that the engineer out there getting things happening is El Senor Howard Reynolds. I'm glad that he's out there at the antenna because you know what, man? That is a magic that gets things throughout Southeast Texas and Northwest or in Southwest Louisiana. So anyway, let's get started. How you doing, my brother?
I'm good. I'm good. The show begins by confronting three interconnected crises shaping the nation's political future: a Supreme Court that greenlights minority rule power grabs, a right wing movement that radicalizes millions through fear and misinformation, and a decades long Republican project that turned healthcare into a profit engine rather than a public good. Together, these forces reveal a democracy strained by manufactured division, corporate greed, and intentional disenfranchisement. Yet they also show where the fight for justice must intensify. I got a little comment on this today. You know, the Supreme Court approved Trump's uh, gerrymandered congressional map in Texas to
Yes.
to entrench corporate power. They're calling it MAGA power, but this deflects the blame from the true culprit, which is corporate power. They use MAGA group as a tool to obscure and cloak the true evil of fascism, corporate control of government. Our courts have been infiltrated and indoctrinated via the Powell memo, excuse me, using the corrupting power of wealth to sway rulings in favor of the corporate, affecting all crises affecting the people, from health care to real estate to the groceries you buy to the farmers who grow.
You nailed it. You're absolutely right about that, sir. But you know what? What we keep and must continue to point out to Americans is that we still have a democracy, we still have agency, we can still do what needs to be done. So thank you very much for that, Jack. You have let's
Welcome.
get busy. Let's get busy with the program and tell folks. First of all, you know, when we said first they got the other person, we did nothing. They got, they got the Jew, we did nothing. They got the black, we did nothing. They got the Latino, we did nothing. And then finally, they came and they got me. If you take a look at what ICE is doing right now, Trump's own thug army, army of thugs. Yeah, at first, you know, they started racially profiling to get a higher propensity of who they may think. are undocumented workers. But in the process, when you build a program on a lie, when you start to execute that program, you see that that you just can't do it because you built it on a lie. The idea that there were millions and millions of these undocumented workers that were criminal as opposed to people just trying to live their lives. No different than what, let's say, the Pilgrims did. Well, actually, it's quite a bit different than what the settlers did because these people are not coming over to conquer, kill, and maim. These people are just here many a times for economic reasons that we created in their countries. Let's give a great example of what's happening today. When you park a flotilla, a Navy flotilla, the strongest country in the world, off the coast of a nation, with the given the impression that you're about to invade, what do you think that to the people who have a higher level of mobility in that country? They leave. They go through the jungles of Darien, through Colombia, and they try to make it out of there because they're scared, they're worried that something that's going to happen out there. And who's fomenting that? We are. What have we done economically in El Salvador, in Honduras, Costa Rica, even Panama? Creating reasons for people to migrate with the economic sabotage that we do there. I mean, it's not magic that a lot of people are just migrating here. It didn't just happen because these people wanted to be illegals. It happened because of socio-economic reasons. Somebody don't pick up from where they live and just jump overseas and say, I just want to come over to America and commit crimes. That doesn't happen. I mean, that doesn't happen. What is happening is a social economic migration, many of it created by policies that we have here, and then we want to try to go ahead and kick folks out. The truth is, folks, Trump ain't kicking people out because of anything these people did. He's kicking them out because he's trying to have another revenue stream for the military, for the prison industrial complex. Don't be fooled. All of this is about cash. It's about money. Don't you think businesses are given kickback for him to turn the eye at some meat packing plants, as many others close, and instead we import beef from Argentina? Again, we've been had. This inflation isn't magic. This inflation, etc., and the pricing increases are caused by things done directly by Donald Trump. And we need to call it out, and the media need to do a better job of calling it out. As you have less workers picking your crop, the price of those crops is going to go up. As you have less people in meat packing plants to process la res, your beef and other meats, we're going to import them. And as we import them, we're going to apply the taxes that the thug in chief has placed on those, and the prices go up. We are being screwed royally by policy. The price increases that you are seeing are because of policy. The policy of tariffs, the policy of scaring Latinos and Latino adjacent people so that they don't go to work, so that they don't go to school, so that they affect the economic stability of a community. All those people that are now locked up in their homes are not going to the abarroterias. They're not going to the restaurants. They're not going to the grocery stores. They're not going to these places. So they have a material effect on your economy. Even those of you who are racist and prejudiced, your attack and your glee as you watch the suffering of the ICE thugs throw people to the ground, as you gleam in that because there's some sickness in you that want to show that these people are being thrown to the ground and thrown out. And by the way, they're not immediately thrown out because Donald Trump has to make a bit of cash on them first. So they're thrown in a third place where the prison industrial complex can make a buck. As you're watching that, you are also watching your own demise because these people, contrary to what's being told to you, even the undocumented workers in this country, has a net positive effect on our economy. And absent these people, our economy again will suffer because we just don't have the capacity to exist without these workers, whether undocumented or not. You may want to believe that you do. Well, a lot of folks in areas that think they were well off and could afford to have others do their lawns, others take care of their kids, others do that because there were people there willing to do that job. And now a lot of you are realizing, oh my God, I can't find anybody that I can afford to do this anymore. So your hate, your racism, your prejudice is actually not something that affects the aggrieved as much, the ones that you hate. It mostly affects you. It mostly affects you. And succumbing to the lies, succumbing to the lies, again, only hurts you. The criminality in America is mostly by Americans, not immigrants. The drug trade is not by, let's say, those people coming from the south and the drug, but these guys are simply fulfilling America's painful need. It is we who are taking the drugs. It is we who are so in pain because of the leadership that we have elected that has us on drugs and trying to blow the smithereens out of boats in across Venezuela does very little to solve the pain of the people who uses the drugs. It simply means we go further into deficit spending in the military to eradicate something we cannot eradicate because we refuse to go eradicate it where it actually happens. You want to solve the problem? Educate Appalachia, invest in Appalachia. You want to mitigate the problems? Invest in places where you have suffering. You want to reduce crime? Reduce poverty. But you know, poverty isn't the sole responsibility for crime because, after all, the Donald isn't rich. And one of the biggest criminals in America today, from assaulting women to stealing to grifting, biggest thug that we have is somebody many of you elected. So let's not talk about criminality here because what they're doing in across off the coast of Venezuela is at best a war crime, but at worst it is murder. And to watch Hegseth and the president who said that they approved the blowing up of these boats, etc., they are all confessing to murder. The people that they claim, the sanctity, those who believe in the sanctity of life, that's what they claim. Without batting an eye, without blinking, without showing remorse. Even if you kill somebody that is a bad person, if you truly believe in the sanctity of life, it pains you to kill another human being. But the glee with which they talk about the lethality, we are a killing machine, and the way they speak shows little care for humanity, so little care for life. And don't compare selling drugs, a capitalist thing, to murdering anyone who ODs, who overdose. It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. One voluntarily takes drugs, many a times to soothe their pain. A killer like Hegseth gives the order to kill. Let's not mix things up here. The killers are those people you saw in suits and uniforms who chose to murder people in the middle of the ocean under a false pretext. This is not conjecture. This is what's happening. Anyway, folks, welcome aboard. Good morning to Lisa Blair from Atlanta, Georgia, Harry Denson from Missouri City, Texas. Thank you for being here. Bobby K, Mary Broner, Michael Rudgelis, Susie Henderson, Jean Elba, Lynette Thompson, Thorsten Sten, Christian LeGrand, Gayla Kunis, Bobby K. Thank you all for being here. Lauda, March KJ, welcome aboard. Christopher Campbell. Don says we sucked up all the resources and paid their puppets to maintain the status quo. Can't argue with that, sir. Bobby Yo, M. Hope, Richard Smith, Judy, Cheryl Elkins. How you doing, Cheryl? Thank you for being here from Massachusetts. Fem K. Gilda Johnson. Love all of you. Anyway, folks, we need some truth telling. And you know what? Eventually, you will get the truth. Eventually, some of you will see the truth. And let me show you what the truth feels like. Let me show you when MAGA make that switch, what it feels and looks like. Check this out. We'll take it on the other side. You know, I wrote a piece on Thanksgiving talking about not necessarily being thankful for what Thanksgiving, the mythology of Thanksgiving, but actually loving Thanksgiving for giving thanks. And one of the issues I brought up in that piece was that one of the things that I'm thankful for is that America is starting to wake up. America is starting to wake up. And, you know, I know a whole lot of people who have quietly left MAGA. They won't quite come out explicitly and tell you, but you can see their enchantment, it has faded. You can see that the will that they had to fight on by all means for the thug in chief is gone. And yesterday on what we saw on Mrs. Rule's show is a MAGA person. His name is Rich Logis, who is founder and executive director of Leaving MAGA, came on to her show, Stephanie Rule, and explained exactly why he became MAGA, how he was enthralled in it, and how not just disillusioned, but he had an epiphany that just brought truth into his fold and decided, I got to get out. And you know, it's happening to a whole lot of people who are starting to realize that they've been had. Listen to Rich Logis, and then we'll take it on the other side.
MAGA is no longer a fringe faction of the Republican Party. Now they are running things. My next guest left the MAGA movement in 2022 and is now trying to help others do the same. His name is Rich Logis. He's the founder and executive director of Leaving MAGA. So originally, what was it that appealed to you about MAGA?
For those who are meeting me for the first time, I would like to apologize for my past MAGA activism. In 2015 and 16, I was very politically lonely. I believed mistakenly that the two parties were the same. And I found in the MAGA movement a community, a sense of belonging, feelings of gathering. And after the 2016 election, I got deeper and deeper into the MAGA world. I wrote freelance articles for places like Fox and The Federalist. I produced my own podcast with the aspiration of being a MAGA influencer. I spoke at Trump groups. I sponsored them. I was a true believer. I was all in on the cause. I believed that I was fighting for our political life in our country, and that anyone who was not with us was against us as an existential threat. And MAGA was exciting.
When did that change?
To paraphrase Ernest Hemingway, my epiphany happened gradually and then suddenly all at once. MAGA was exhilarating until it was not. And there were numerous factors that led to my eventual leaving of MAGA. There was the president's mismanagement of COVID. There was January 6th. There were the stolen election lies. There was my governor, Ron DeSantis, platforming COVID anti-vaxxers at his pressers. And then there was the final straw for me, which was on May 24th, 2022, which was the day of the Uvalde, Texas school shooting. And it was shortly thereafter, on August 30th of 2022, when I published a mea culpa and I made my renunciation of MAGA official. And I apologized in that article that I wrote to all of those I may have hurt with my words, deeds, and rhetoric. And at the time, I didn't believe that anyone would actually care about my leaving, but it turned out that people did, especially friends and family of those still in the thrall of MAGA.
Well, you say there's a lot of trauma within MAGA's base. What do you mean by that? What did you see?
What I came to realize after leaving MAGA is that the movement is buttressed by a number of lies and conspiracies and falsehoods. And what MAGA does to its adherents is it traumatizes them into believing that Democrats and liberals and progressives and anyone against Trump must be an existential threat to themselves, their families, their country, and their livelihood. So the trauma that exists within MAGA is it keeps people in perpetual states of desperation and panic and rage and paranoia, the kinds of feelings that I went through as I was spending an entire year coming to the realization that I had believed lies and that I had created a public persona based on falsehoods that I did sincerely believe, but turned out to be false once I had my own epiphany and realized that I had believed so much of what the president was saying was not true.
What do you believe MAGA's impact has been on our country? How has it changed our country?
Well, it was a fantasy of ours when I was in MAGA to kill off the GOP and make it into a MAGA party. And I think that transformation has been achieved. And unfortunately, MAGA, I believe, has traumatized every square inch of the country. But I also think that there is some good news, Stephanie, to all of this. I believe that the president knows that there are cracks and chasms that are widening within the base. I think that partly explains his particularly unhinged behavior that we've seen him exhibit recently. So I do believe that there are some who right now quietly have left MAGA, that there are others who are quietly having doubts. And I would encourage everyone who's watching to visit our website at leavingmaga.org and read all the testimonials of people who, like me, left, who decided that they no longer wanted to buy into all of the mythologies of MAGA and realize that as part of what Donald Trump has done, his toxic superpower, as I said last year, is lying. And I think for those who are experiencing doubts right now and questioning their beliefs, I think they're at a point where they've reached their own red line and line of demarcation and are asking themselves, if Donald Trump is lying about one or two issues, what else is it that he might be lying about?
Yes. So he's been out, I guess, 2 years and change now, and he's doing good work. Remember, one of the things that we preach here all of the times, give people a place to land. Give those who were caught up in MAGA, those people who, for whatever reason, there are a lot of reasons, some not too nice, but in order to get the major changes that we need in this country economically, in order to defeat an economic system that is decimating everybody, whether you call yourself MAGA or otherwise, that economic system is going to require all of us to be a part of to fix. So we don't have time to sit back and hold grudges. I've said before, yes, those who have done wrong, those who have done the worst wrong, have got to atone. But those who were simply gullible, we have to give folks a place to land. We must give people a place to land, not for them, but for all of us. so that we can get the changes that need to be made. It's not going to take 50% plus one. It's going to take us all.
All of our country.
Well, it seems like Egberto dropped out
And
there.
some technical difficulties that I think I just fixed. Anyway, that is what we have to realize, folks. It's not about them. It's about us all. If we want change of really, really socio-economic change, it's going to take more than 50 plus one. So actually giving people a place to land isn't about being gullible, isn't about being nice. It's about what's necessary. It is about what is necessary. And like I tell folks, one of the reasons I'll speak anywhere, I'll talk to anybody, I'll try to work with anybody, is because it's not about me, my ego, it's not about me and my grudges. It's about us all and getting things done for us all. So before I get calls that says, why are you going to give folks a break or whatever? They're evil, they're racist, they're this, they're that. I don't think I'm too stupid. I think I know that, but that's not the point. The point is, if you care really about your fellow brother and sister, if you care about effecting real change, you have to leave your grudges and person, etc., behind and keep your eye on the ball. You have got to keep your eye on the ball. Some people can't. And look, I am not gonna go ahead and hit you up if you can't, because it's difficult. It's difficult to look at somebody in the eye, somebody you know was in MAGA because they despise somebody, I mean, completely rationally, who maybe looked like me or whatever, and look them in the eye and say, join the club. Join the club. Even as you know where their heart may be, where their heart may still be, but you think of what's best for the better good. Let's go to would you line number one. Come on in, line number one. Betty, I think. Line number one. Okay, line number two. Would you
Can
come
you
on
hear
in?
me?
Would you? Yes, I can hear you. Would you?
Okay. Good morning. I have an echo on my end. Can you hear it on your end?
Yeah, we don't hear it on our end. That's a problem that
Okay,
we
good.
have yet to solve.
Okay, that's fine. I had two thoughts. One of them was, once Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's coming to her epiphany or whatever she's going through right now. I was asking my husband, I said, if we legitimately treat racism and MAGA as the disease that it is, because I'm in healthcare, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to make a light of like alcoholism, but if we treat it like a disease, like if someone's an alcoholic, right, and decides that they want to actually do all the things to heal themselves, right? So they check themselves into AA, they go through the steps, and they really, really work hard on it. And I told my husband, I said, if we treat MAGA and racism like that, and someone who is racist and with someone who is MAGA, and they legitimately want to cure themselves of the disease, and they go through all the steps and really, really, really atone, could they legitimately integrate into society, and could we have space for them? And when I said it that way, he was like, maybe if you legitimately treat it like a disease, and they go through all the steps and they really, really atone and they make penance and etc. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there, just things that we're thinking about as far as, essentially reconnecting with our fellow Americans.
Uj,
And then secondly, I just heard that in California, in San Francisco, In-N-Out Burger is increasing the minimum wage to their workers like $42 or something. And people are like, oh my God, that's a lot. And I'm like, no, it's not. The minimum wage today needs to be way higher, because if you compare the CEO wages since, let's say, the 70s, it's ballooned. Cost of living has ballooned. But yet you're trying to stay here and expect someone, even in like Mississippi, we need to start paying people a living wage. Like, you can't just work to literally not survive and still be on food stamps. Like, the math has to math, people. So anyway, that's all I wanted to throw out there.
well,
Just
let me
things
let
to
me
think about.
I want to answer both of them. First of all, with regards to treating MAGA and racism as a disease, right? It is. I agree with you, and in fact, I've said that many times on my 3 o'clock program. That and the example that I would use is why I don't hate MAGA, why I engage MAGA. I would say if you have a child and your child have a mental illness, is it possible for you to hate that child? The truth is no. You go ahead and you work with them, and even as they lash out, you work with them. So I think, to put it bluntly, Uju, I think you nailed it. We have to treat it for what it is, and it genuinely is a mental disorder. And we are not saying
Yeah,
this facetiously. When you believe in the conspiracy
no,
theories that you believe when those conspiracy theories can actually inculcate your mind, that's something mentally wrong with you. When somebody can ask you a question, do you support XYZ? And you say, absolutely not. I will never support that. And then you say, but that's Trump, what Trump did. And you are able to rationalize that immediately after saying you don't support that. That's a mental disorder. And
right.
it may not sound kind to, let's say, some person that is still strong MAGA listening to me. It may not sound kind, but it is real. It's a mental problem
It
that
is.
you have taught yourself the machinations to make irrationality normal. Go ahead, Uju.
And one more thing I want to say, and another idea, because in this day and age, we're trying to figure out. Like, yeah, we're in the thick of things right now, and I think honestly it's a blessing, because I feel like black and brown people in this country have been screaming into the echo chamber, and everybody has just been like, pick yourself off the bootstrap. It's not that bad. So actually, I'm kind of happy that the hood is out, that we actually finally, as Americans, see how vile and the small minority who are vile and evil are trying to drag us down. But I was telling my husband, I said, part of being in the thick of things in the valley, which is what we're in right now, all of us actually have to look up and realize that there is light at the end of the tunnel. And we
Right.
should start thinking about how we're going to start the renewal and the repair process. And I think that when we finally get out of this, big tech has to be broken up. And one of the things we as the people must demand, when they are broken up, we have to demand that we know where these rage baits and rage comments are coming from. Because I think people have been lied because unlike, take the Cracker Barrel situation, for example, right? Cracker Barrel
Hmm.
did the thing. They decided to rebrand. And because of bots, and now we know it was bots
Right.
that literally acted like it was like the worst thing, and the bots were just clicking. Here's a company who literally decided to rebrand, no matter what you think of the brand. It literally did the work anyway. It was almost like corporate espionage. So I think that part of what we need to do moving forward is when they are broken up, we have to demand that they have to now start letting us know where these accounts are coming from. And if they refuse to, we have to find them, and that money goes towards some kind of digital justice or something. Because the problem is, in real time, they're really, really causing serious harm. And it
I
should be unethical and it should be illegal. But that's
I
all I have to
agree.
say. Start thinking of
Thank you.
how we get out of this.
Thank you very much, Uju. Very smart commentary, very necessary commentary, and very correct commentary. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Uju
You as
is
well. Happy
absolutely
weekend,
right.
everyone.
Thank you. Let's go ahead and go to Jeff. Come on in, Jeff.
Good morning, Roberto. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Talk to me, my friend.
You know, I'd like to extend an invitation for you and your listeners. You know, you say that MAGA is a mental disorder, but we disagree on a lot of things, but I think liberalism is the most social disorder. I just want to extend the invitation. If anybody wants to come to the right, they can. And not
Jeff,
break them wrongs and
Jeff, let me ask you a question, my brother. My brother,
yeah.
give me a. I mean, I know that is what you hear. Somehow, liberal is a mental disorder. Give me a liberal policy, something that liberals believe in,
Well,
that you think
I
makes.
didn't come to debate stuff. I just
I
want to
understand. What
send
I'm
that
saying is, and that's the issue,
invitation.
brother.
Everybody in your fold can
Jeff,
come to the right world and bring.
Jeff, hold on a second. Let me tell you something. I understand what you just said. I keep Jeff on. Don't cut Jeff. Let me just say this, Jeff, because it's important what you just said. I did not come here to debate. I just came here to make a statement. All right? And that is, in fact, the problem and a part of the disorder. A part of the disorder is when you say, I'm not here to debate, that means you're not willing to do the logic that is necessary to get things done. Because when I speak to a lot of MAGA and I've converted a lot of MAGA and I've gotten a lot of people thinking, I'm going to tell you straight up. But at first, that has to come from within. One has to want to have logics in their thinking process. And here's the thing once you tell me, I am not here to debate, that means you're saying, I am not here to learn. I am not here to figure things out. I am not here to figure where you are. And once you cannot, and the thing that no MAGA has ever been able to tell me is give me a progressive or liberal policy, tenet, or whatever. Give me what is actually wrong with it. I can tell you all that is wrong with MAGA methodology. I can enumerate them one after the other because it's illogical. But you can't do the same with me. Thank you very much, Jeff. Have a perfect rest
Let
of
me
your
give
day.
you
Let's
one.
go to Betty.
Let me give you one.
Okay, great. Give me one. Give me one. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's go. Let's go, Betty. Line number one. It's going to be coming right now. There you go. Come on in, Betty.
Okay. Well, Trump has to go to Minnesota and singles out the Somalis, saying they're garbage. Trump's the one I put out at the curb. It's not so bad up there. My husband was born there. My father-in-law, he did the long country road mailman, and he couldn't get home half of the time in the wintertime. My mother-in-law, she couldn't even go to the neighbors to get some wood to keep warm. It was snow so bad. But, Alberto, they can take it. You better believe it. And Trump is, he is a disease. He spreads like COVID. Wear your, protective gear. Trump is no gentleman. Never was. He don't open doors. He plays the hide and seek. Set his dogs loose. He does not put his eggs in the basket. He depletes it. It's like you can't get blood out of a turnip. Bye-bye, Michael. I'm sorry. I love you. Yeah, I had too much coffee. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Love you, Betty. You have a wonderful day, my beautiful Betty. Let's go to Bruce. Come on in, Bruce.
Good morning. Good morning.
I hear you. I hear you, my brother.
Okay, I just got a couple of things to say. First, ICE should stand for it concerns everybody. It does. Right now, Strom Thurmond is looking up from Hades with a smile of approval for the Supreme Court. That was really terrible. As far as the strafing or the killing of the survivors, what would we say if one of our planes got shot down over Iraq and the parachute was strafed with the excuse by the enemy that Well, if he made it to the ground, he would have climbed in another plane and rejoined the fight. That's the argument they're making, and that's baloney. I want to thank Augie. She's right about the mental illness. Trump is mentally ill, and birds of a feather flock together. He attracts those that think the same way that he thinks. It's a sickness. I don't want to take up too much time. Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you, my brother Bruce, and you're absolutely right, sir. I mean, and but Uju said something that I think, or alluded to something that I think is so important. She said, "In as we were living a sort of a false calm because there's a scab that needed to be removed in this country, so people could really see where they are. And what you're seeing is you actually see, there are a lot of good people out there. Most people are good, but you have that cancerous part of this country, the same type of cancer that didn't have a problem with the Trail of Tears, the same kind of cancer that didn't have the problem with what they did to the Chinese, to the Japanese, the same kind of cancer that you have within Hegseth that doesn't look at lives of others as valuable. That cancer remains with a substantive percentage of the population. And what we got a chance to do is expose that. And once exposed, they always say light is a disinfectant. The ultraviolet within the light disinfect. We are going to disinfect some, but some will be permanently the way they are. But as long as they don't comprise the majority, we have a country. Eddie.
Hey, good morning. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, you had asked for one example of liberalism as a mental disorder.
Yes, sir.
How about their support of men in sports, men and women's locker rooms, the whole trans agenda?
You say that is something that that is your creation, right, of the right. The truth of the matter is the following. Okay. The fact that nobody on the right wants to really understand gender differences. In other words, what is this? Now, I am a guy born with the XY chromosomes or whatever it is that makes me a man. Okay. Now, here's the thing. It is a lie to say that liberals want to have men in women's sports. That's a lie. That's a complete lie.
They fight awfully hard for it then.
No.
They fight awfully hard for it.
No, let me just say, okay? The fact of the matter, it makes good noise on your side. And the thing about it is such a minute issue in this country because the amount of trans that we have in this country it doesn't even hit the knob. Everything that many of you stand for is based on a lie. From the criminality of people to gender issues, it's based on a lie. So let's leave that one alone and give me something that's real substantive that you think make liberals that somehow is incorrect with liberals. Let's get something substantive that affects most Americans. Talk to me about that.
Well, I thought that was pretty substantive, but how about
substance can't be based on a lie. So give me something substantive.
Running across the border. How about millions of people running across the border for 4 years?
All right. I'm glad you brought that up. Because that is another false issue. First of all, causality is very important. If you are not privy or if you are mentally lazy that you don't want to understand what brought that flux of people to American policy, then we don't have anything to talk about, right? Because you think people just appear at the border. In your form of thinking, all these people are just coming to the border to come and rape our American women and do that. Sir, don't you consider ever logic and say, why is this happening? What are the corporations doing?
Whatever drove them there doesn't matter. The fact that for years we were told it wasn't happening.
No, you said it matters. I mean, you believe in the policies Trump is doing purportedly to interject drugs, and he's going externally to do it. So you're saying that is okay, but the people coming here is not. Again, the way that many of you think, my brother, I don't know why you think the way that you think, but it's completely illogical. And what I would suggest that you do, and I say this with respect, what I suggest that you do is you get off that horse. It is a mental disorder. Sir, my friend, my friend, and don't cut this, brother, my friend. I want to tell you this, and if I were sitting with you with a cup of coffee, the fact that you are unable to logicalize or unwilling to logicalize makes it a mental disorder. I just told you about, you brought up the border. I gave you the rationale for what's happening at the border. Donald Trump is doing nothing but making money off of what he's doing on the border. But you can't see that because you refuse to be logical and understand what exactly is happening. Okay? So what I'm saying, if you really want to have a point by point, I'm speaking. If you really want to have a point for point conversation on rationality, practicality, and objectivity, you'll have a person here willing to listen to you and then speak to you. But once you come with talking points that make absolutely no sense, that's not a starting point. I got to go, Eddie. My line is starting to fill up. Let's go to Bobby. Come on in, Bobby.
Hi, good morning, Berto.
Good morning, my brother. Talk to me.
I was just going to say that it appears to me that a large percentage of the MAGA base, they're not critical thinkers. He doesn't, like he had once said, he liked the uneducated voter.
Right.
And he appeals to emotion because, like, if you're about to get into a fight, if you can sit there and talk to somebody sensibly, you have a chance of working things out. But as soon as you get emotional, your emotions take over. Yeah. And I think that's why he was, saying things like, oh, these Haitians, they're eating your dogs and cats, and so, oh, well, I love, my little friskies and, I want to protect my cat. And they never, like, is this even really a thing? And there's so many, like, I was trying to do what you did, have, like, a debate with a MAGA person the other day. It's like, okay, what do you like about him so much? Because I can't figure it out. And then she's like, well, the first thing she said was, well, it's what Trump was saying when he first got the presidency, that he doesn't need the money, that he's not doing this for money. I'm already rich. I'm here for the people. And I'm like, look, this guy just made like $1 billion from donations through his cryptocurrency. He sells pardons. Like, he made Lil Wayne sell all of his original music and everything he had. And then suddenly, he makes donations and gets out. He's had to pay millions for rape. All these things. I wanted to debate her about all these things, but
Bobby, Bobby, the latest one is you released a guy who sold 500 tons of cocaine to the United States and said, exactly. I want to put this into the blood of gringos.
Like, real information, she shut down. She didn't want to have an actual logical debate because they just, you can understand, like, people in Texas, you have a bunch of good old boys. And when you tell them, hey, we're going to let this dude dressed up like a girl come into your, it doesn't matter. He's going to be like, oh, hell no, or if you tell him
right.
certain things like, we're going to take, you can't have your AR anymore. He's not going to, he's like, oh, I love my guns and I don't want dudes in my,
it's a mental disorder.
Hey,
Bobby, I got to go because I got a little bit of time and 3 callers to take. So thank you, brother. But you're absolutely right. Thank you, brother. Let's go to Johnny. Come on in, Johnny. Quickly for me, Johnny.
I can offer 2 substances for the guy who loves Donald Trump unapologetically. When it comes to the border, there's a history of the Republican Party always shooting down, denying, underfunding any and all attempts and legislation by the Democrats. Right. That's right, the Democrats. Even though I don't like the centrist Democrats, the Democrats overall, they provide legislation and funding to address the so-called border. But what do the Republicans do? They don't like to have the border solved so they can cry about it and fill their diapers with poo. Wah, wah, wah. Here's number 2. There's a pedestal in the New York Harbor. It says, bring us your huddled masses yearning to be free. Remember that?
Johnny, let me tell you, Johnny, you have to remember that when those things were written, they thought it was written for just a particular kind of people, Johnny. Please remember that. But Johnny, right. I got to let you go, Johnny, I got to get to Brother Donald, and I'm running out of time. Thank you, brother. Peace. Let's go to brother Donald. Come on, Donald. How you doing? I'm waiting to hear what the brother has to say. Donald, come on in.
Good morning. You need to get another mouse in your pocket when you say we have a drug problem in the United States.
Right? We do, don't we?
Well, yeah, but it's because some people say to legalize it, some people say don't. We can't agree on anything. But the thing is, you cannot control speech. You cannot tell people what to say.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want a concentration camp and a reprogramming camp, where do we need to go?
Yeah. I don't want that. Let me tell you, you see what I do, Don. I speak to everybody, MAGA and otherwise. And there are a lot of I listen first, of course. And when I do these talks, I'm on the radio, I got to talk. But when I'm on out there, I listen. I do a lot of listening, and then I base my conversation on everything these people say. And I've been very effective in doing that. And let me just say that there's a 33% core of MAGA that is immutable. Immutable, completely irrational. The mental problem is right to the core of whatever the brain study is. But there are enough that we have 70 something percent of this country that we can win. Anyway, Donald, I gotta go. Give me a quick one so I can get to Patrick.
Hold on, they're on both sides. And I learned the other day the Bible is not in alphabetical order because I was in either Ezekiel or Ephesians. I flipped forward. I did not see the book of Enoch or the book of Egberto in there. So you need to get with King James and tell him to revise it.
Love you, man. Love you, man. Love you, man. Talk to me later, Donald.
Yes, sir.
Take it easy, brother. Let's go to my brother Patrick. Come on in, Patrick.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, brother. Talk to me.
I wanted to address Eddie's concerns. The bathroom bills were born out of mental illness issues, but not what he's saying. There's a group of people that will assault and kill people for no other reason except them being different. So a law was enacted to give people safe haven from that behavior. And another thing is Greco-Roman wrestling, which is a very, very difficult sport, has been mixed gender for years and years and years, way before anybody was concerned about this. Everybody should think for themselves. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, brother. We'll talk next week. Come on in, my brother Jimmy. How you doing, Jimmy?
Hi, Eduardo. We have an election going on now for a city council at large district, and the early voting is going on now. I voted yesterday at the Tracy G. Center. The woman has been endorsed by the Chronicle. She is the best candidate as far as I can tell, and the man is tied in with the police and firemen's union, and they are taking too much money out of our budget now. So I highly recommend that they vote for the woman, but mainly vote.
Jimmy, you know what? I can always count on you. I have the best callers. I can always count on you. Thank you. I should have said that in the beginning of the program. Thank you for reminding me. All right?
Good deal. Everybody should vote. That's all.
Have a great day, brother. Let's go to... Bard's on the line. Come on in, Bard.
Yes, sir, Egberto. Let me help you in this discussion of the week. Give me the definition.
Me, please.
What is a woman?
Help me, please. I'm not going to go into y'all's this problem that you guys have.
What
so
is
come
a woman,
to the
Patrick?
go to the next subject
woman,
because you guys
Patrick?
are obsessed. You guys are obsessed. Go to the next subject, brother.
Fine. Bye.
All right. Have a great day. You see how these guys are mentally manipulated. How many people are walking around worried about what's a woman, what's a man, all that kind of stuff? They want you concerned about that because they don't want you to be concerned about a degrading economy. They don't want you to be concerned about your degrading democracy. They want you thinking about externalities. That's the only thing that makes a failed economic system that parasitically takes your money to the top. This economic system can only be maintained if we make sure that a certain percentage of Americans continue to maintain a mental disorder of hate and other issues. That's the only way it survives, because people would eventually realize who are the parasites in this country. And it's not the person on food stamps or SNAP. It's not the person receiving even Social Security. The biggest thugs, the biggest people on welfare in this country is the corporatocracy. By the numbers, by the actions, by their work, because they don't do that. You see, but you don't know that. You don't know that the wealthy are the people that work the least in this country. Anytime you hear somebody say, I am smart, my money works for me, you're listening to a parasite. Money doesn't work for you. Other people work. When you say your money is working for you, other people are working. That person in Congo digging up the rare earth. We have to learn to start critically thinking. That's why they don't want you to think, because you start to ask questions. Jack, give me a quick closer if you have one, so I can close this baby down.
You know, they use psychoanalytic theory and social psychology to indoctrinate the masses in a subliminal message of suspicion of anyone different, to instill hate and racism so they can divide the people so the corporate can do what they want.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you. Patricia Egan, welcome aboard. What crybaby, she says. You're right. RCW Wrecker, you asked for a policy. These brain dead people bring up men in women's sports. They prove your point. Oh, thank you, brother. Aguilar, Agolf Twitler is in the house. Likewise, look, the commentary that you guys have both in Substack and otherwise, I got the smartest listeners on the radio and on Substack and on YouTube and on Twitch and on everywhere. Anyway, folks, love you all. Remember, you can go ahead and get the rest of the program at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. You can write me directly at kpft@politicsdoneright.com. kpft@politicsdoneright.com. Love you all. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
You're listening to the American Democracy Minute, keeping your government by and for the people. We're in Wisconsin today, where the state Supreme Court, after unwinding gerrymandering in state House and Senate districts, has appointed lower court judicial panels to hear challenges to Wisconsin's congressional districts. Pro-voter groups argue the congressional maps should be subject to the fairer criteria mandated for the state legislature.